Showtime.
It's about that time.
Let's go.
You're right where you need to be. This is GCOM Radio.
Hardest radio station on the planet. Yeah.
Powered by Lyfeblood.com.
We certified.
And hosted by Nova Phoenix.
Give them that flavor.
Okay, everybody, we are here once again. Thank you guys for coming in. This is another episode of GCOM Radio, episode 181. We coming and creeping closer to the show 200. I don't know what's gonna happen then. We getting there. How's your week been? Hopefully it's been glorious. Everything under the sun has been happening to you. Hopefully it's been happening to you in the best of ways. Yeah, man. So, let's get right to it, man. There's a lot of things that I want to say and get out of here for episode 181. All right, so I'm your host, Nova Phoenix, on GCOM Radio, on iHeartRadio. And the first topic that we are going to have going on with these black farmers in Colorado, a lot of things have been going down over there. I've seen that there's been some protests. They've been sharing on IG. They've been sharing on multiple platforms about, everything that's happening there. And that was, as I said in the previous show, that was kind of promoted by Tez and Figaro. And that I saw even before Tez posted on the site where, we had a black couple that moved out to Colorado, El Paso County, Colorado. And their ranch called the Freedom Acres Ranch. And they bought, they bought a large swath of land, raising cows, livestock, all that thing. But unfortunately, they've been met with a lot of racism. And their livestock has been coming up dead. They've been, let's say, they've been sabotaged and, equipment damaged, all that thing. So my take on that, as what everybody knows, I'm like, you know what, seeing what they're going through, and I'm like, yeah, I do support, what they've been going through. It's wrong. Don't get me wrong. It is totally, it's totally a problem. I get it. But on the other hand, with the sign of the times, I think black folk have to be more intentional. As I said, the magic word here is intentional, how they move about in this country. Yes, you have the freedom to go anywhere you want, purchase land, purchase house, purchase property. Yes. But as we know, not every place is in the best interest of black people's livelihood. And I think it was a wrong move for them to buy all that land out there in Colorado, and it's majority white, not just majority white, but just the mindset, as we all know, that it's embedded within the DNA of this country, racism and white supremacy. All that being said, as we've all talked about on major news networks with your household names of news broadcasters talking about racism to more of independent black media, and it's been said the same. And I think black people have to be more intentional how they move about. And if you want, I'm not saying you can't be a farmer, but go to a place where it's more welcoming to black people. Straight up, you can't move in the heart of KKK land, and all of a sudden you're gonna get the best of receptions. Let's keep it real, all right? I'm not saying Colorado is KKK land, but when you see a majority of white folks, especially when you see what their voting choices are, and a lot of it was Trump, and I'm sure a lot of folks in Colorado vote for Trump. Why would you do this? It makes no sense. It makes no sense at all. It makes no sense. It's like thinking of farmers. Why would you pick arid land and plant crops in arid land? Of course, as a farmer, you want to pick the most fertile soil to plant your crops because you want the highest yield. You want the sweetest fruits. You want the biggest vegetables. Why would you try to plant? If you know as a farmer you would not plant your fruits and vegetables in in terrible nutrient deficient soil, and you know that's not the place to plant. It's the same thing as people. Why are you going to plant yourself in a place where it is not in the best interest of black people and you are surrounded by racist motherfuckers? Now, they complain, and I said this on the show beforehand. They complain what was going on to the local police, and I said, the same people that is running up in their homes are the same people that are in the sheriff's department, the same people in their PDs, the same people that are the mayors, the same people that are district attorneys, the same people that are going, if you have to go to court, they're going to be selected as your peer group. If anything goes wrong, you have surrounded yourselves in the lion's den. Why would you do that? So that was absolutely the wrong move. And sometimes I'm like, well, you know what? Hey, it is what it is. You go in shark infested waters, you gonna get bit. And it don't make no sense. So, more power to them. I'm not inhuman. I'm not like, lack of emotion. I hopefully they get justice out of this situation, but they got what they got. That other line says, play stupid games, win stupid prizes. They got the big one. All right, they got the grand prize behind door number 1. All right, so black people, let's be smarter here, man. Let's be smarter. That's wild. All right, so the next thing, man, I hope everybody's been watching The Last of Us on HBO Max. That show is fantastic. You know what? I thought I was done with the whole zombie thing. After The Walking Dead, I was like, man, they cannot make another zombie show because you got everything that you could get out of The Walking Dead. Nope. I'm really digging The Last of Us, and it's a similar background. It's zombies, except instead of just the zombies coming out of nowhere from, it's coming out of the air. They never really fully explain it. This one, it has it's loosely based on science about, fungus, the cordyceps, that it truly really does happen in nature. And of course, humans are infected by that, and they become these walking funguses, whatever. And instead of the typical zombies, and they just go, and they walk slow. Now these motherfuckers run after you. Yo, it's off the chain. I love the characters so far. I'm really interested to see how far they go in this story. Of course, The Last of Us is based off of a game. It's a very famous game, and I never played it, but I followed it and I loved everything about it. That's how I know about The Last of Us on HBO Max, and I think they picked terrific actors to be the cast. And I haven't seen the last episode. I haven't seen last Sunday, so I have to see it this week. By the time I post this, I guess I would have seen it already. We'll see how it goes. But the last episode was off the chain, man. Off the chain. It was sad, man, super sad. But definitely check out The Last of Us. Now, as I said before, this is a real thing that's based off of ants that get infected by cordyceps. And I looked it up, and I saw some video, and yeah, definitely, these ants, there's this particular type of ants that I forgot what region it was in, but they travel from branch to branch, and they try not to go along the forest floors because of dangers and all those such things. And one of them is the cordyceps, this fungus. And where there are places that they cannot move from spot A to spot B through the trees, they do have to walk along the forest floors, and that's when they get, they are victims of this fungus that takes over their body. And once the spore does invade their body, somehow it takes control over their muscular system, and the ants are forced to climb up a plant. It's wild. They got this down to a science. The scientists have actually studied this. They only pick a particular plant on a tree or I guess a bush or a brush or something like that. They only go to a certain height, and the ant is forced to climb up this plant, and it grabs the main vein. And once the mandibles of the ant chomps onto this main vein, somehow then sprouts a stalk out of its body that grows a bulbous sac at the end of the stalk. And that's how this the spores of this cordyceps spreads, and then it just drops its spores to any ant that's walking by, and the process starts again. This is wild. It does happen in other species, not so much of the zombification, what happens to ants, but it does happen to other species like spiders and I think other insect species. I don't know which ones, but it does infect them. If you could go online and you see how these spores kind of like take over the body, and just like the same thing in The Last of Us, they're covered in this and the strands of these fungi strands, all just like hairy strands all over the body, and of course they're carcasses at this point. So and it makes you think like, hey man, is this possible in humans? If this affects spiders and other insect species and ants, and the ants so far are the only ones that they get zombified and they climb these plants. And I'm like, I'm watching this video, and they're talking about this specifically. And it does infect, or something similar. I wouldn't say fungus. Something similar happens to mammals. It's wild. It's called Toxoplasma gondii, and it infects rodents and mice. And he says how it happens is this Toxoplasma gondii, that's the scientific term. Somehow it changes them to walk to their own death by turning off their instinctual fear of cat urine to rodents and mice. And instead of being turned off by it, it becomes an attraction, and they wander towards like wild cats out in the open. And then just like, it's wild. You see this stuff happen. And of course the cat sees it and it plays with it, and then eventually eats it. Like it eats it. And this parasite infects the cat. Crazy. It infects the cat where it reproduces. Now, this is where it transfers from animal to cat. From animal to human, because humans can get infected, and humans have gotten infected. They say about a third of humans can be infected by this Toxoplasma gondii by either the feces of an infected cat or undercooked contaminated meat. That's crazy that this can happen. Now, how it affects mice and rodents is not how it affects human beings. They say there's little to no effect, and that these are what the researchers are saying early on when they discovered that Toxoplasma gondii does infect humans. But however, and a matter of fact, it sticks around for years, the infection, and sometimes for the rest of a human being's life. And they said that they actually did a study where there were car crashes, and there were a certain amount of, in the recorded car crashes, they figured out there was a certain percentage of drivers that were more likely to have this parasite called Toxoplasma gondii. And scientists theorize that the infected have a slower reaction time, which could have caused the crashes. This is amazing stuff, man. And there's even a crazier study where they're saying that in Copenhagen, they're saying that there's the infected have more likelihood of developing schizophrenia, about a 50% higher likelihood of developing schizophrenia because of this Toxoplasma gondii. That's madness. You can look it up yourself. You go online, Toxoplasma, Toxoplasma, gondii, Gondii. This is amazing stuff, man. And, who's to say, how, based on the Last of Us movie, who's to say that the environment changes, and how it is. The survival of the fittest, how animals of various sorts adjust to their environment. And like, for instance, insects that mimic branches so they don't get eaten by any predators, and they actually mimic the sway of branches in the wind. It's amazing stuff. How does this happen? I don't know. But survival of the fittest, where animals do adjust to the environment. Who's to say that this fungus doesn't adjust to its environment? As they say in The Last of Us, the warming of the climate of the earth, and maybe something happens and there's a certain change in the code of the DNA, and then you have this fungus become, in order to survive, it goes beyond ants and spiders, and then goes to small animals, and animals and humans, and all of a sudden man, I don't know, it's just crazy. I was just interested to find out about this whole thing because of The Last of Us, but to find out all this other stuff, man, it's crazy, man. It makes you think. And of course, especially when we're coming off of COVID, that's just another variation of the flu, and somehow that, in one way or another, changed its I wouldn't say DNA, but how it kind of survives, and then it moved from animals to humans. You know what I mean? It's wild stuff, man. It's crazy, and it really puts things in perspective, because we came off from COVID recently of these 2 years, and saw how so many people died. You think your imagination goes there, like, yo, what's the next thing that can happen? How will nature develop itself bacteria or parasites that could kill humans and turn humans into zombies and all that? It's just crazy, man. The next thing, the NBA dunk contest I saw last week, man, let me tell you something. I saw of course, the NFL, the Super Bowl. I couldn't think of the name. I saw the Super Bowl. Haven't seen it in years. Finally saw it. I was like, yo, okay, that's super dope. Fantastic. It was great to see a game after so long. And then the NBA dunk contest. Took the time out to see the NBA dunk contest. Yo, it was so trash. Yo, the NBA dunk contest was trash. It was trash. Matter of fact, oh my God. Let me tell you, not only the NBA dunk contest, but even the All-Star game, man. The All-Star game was it was an exhibition day. I don't know. Correct me. Anybody out there, correct me if I'm wrong. But I remember seeing the All-Star game many, many moons ago. And the All-Star game played like a regular game. When I was watching the All-Star game, and I'll get the dunk contest in a second, it was, cats wasn't playing. They was just basically chilling. Now, I don't remember the All-Star game being like that. I remember the All-Star game, cats would put in work like it was a regular season game. But these cats was chilling. They wasn't really working. No, they was doing easy layups and dunks and half speed running across the court and letting players like run up the paint. I don't remember the All-Star game being like that. I'm like, wow, what? Yo, it's changed. Again, correct me if I'm wrong. And then that leads into the NBA dunk contest. That is trash. I mean, again, I remember the dunk contest back in the day. Dudes put in work. They put in work, and this dunk contest was trash. I mean, one of the best that I seen at the time, everybody knows the Vince Carter one, where he was, my man, man, I saw the old game with Vince Carter, and I'm like, yep, that's how I remember the dunk contest. This one, it was like, I don't know who these cats is. I'm like, of course, I'm a whole nother generation, but the fact is, I'm like, who these dudes? And when they actually was doing the dunks, it was so half-hearted, and oh my God, it was terrible, man. And the dude that shined was a white dude. The white dude's name was Mac McClung. He plays for the Philadelphia 76ers, and he took it home, man. He took it home, and he had the energy. And I was like, all right, I mean, what is exactly not really translating in the NBA dunk contest today? And I looked it up, and they would say they say that it doesn't have a serious change in major players' pocketbook. It's just like, okay, it's a dunk contest. So what? What do I gain out of this? And as we know, everything is more focused around money. Everything is super concentrated around the bag. And major players are like, what does this do for me? It doesn't really do anything. I don't want to be a part of it. I think LeBron, if I remember correctly, from reading up on this, LeBron even bowed out of the slam dunk contest. And it's not really something that players like really get into. And it's done by new players trying to build a name for themselves with a little following. So they trying to come in and do their thing. And probably these young boys that really don't have have developed a skill in slam dunks and them doing their thing. NBA, the letters NBA is not even in the title of the slam dunk. It was like AT&T slam dunk contest or whoever the sponsor is. NBA don't even put their name into it, and that's why I think that's partly what diminishes the need of putting in heart in the slam dunk contest. And it's another thing, most of the moves has already been done. How else can you do a dunk? All right. I mean, you're going to be under the legs, behind the back, off the back. Listen, that's the only thing that I'm not sure about. I understand this, but so many ways. Humans only have 2 legs and 2 arms. There's only but so many ways that you can do and dunk, and that's why they do these like gimmicks. Putting players like guest starring like guys where they could jump over, and they'll do whatever that is going to bring excitement to the dunk contest and then performing their dunk. That's kind of true in some ways. I get it. There's but so many ways to do a dunk, but you can actually kind of grade. Of course, you have the judges there. You can grade a dunk based on, to me, a player's power, a player's execution, and of course the whatever gimmick that they want to like tie into their dunk, that adds to it, the flair, the excitement, the creativity. But you can have someone that do a behind the back dunk and it could come off weak, and you could take a strong player that really cares to do a behind the back dunk, and it's a powerful display of trying to show them that, I'm doing this dunk and I'm doing it with purpose and strength, and all those other adjectives that you want to add to translate into making a good performance of a dunk, right? So I mean, I just didn't see that in any of the players other than Mac McClung. He was putting his heart into it. Mac McClung didn't do anything super different and amazing with dunks. He didn't do nothing super amazing or different, but he did put intent behind his dunks. He did put purpose behind his dunks, and that's what carried it over with the judges. That's what carried it over with the fans, because you heard the response from the fans. And Matt McClung put his heart into those dunks, even though it was a dunk that you probably would have seen like 20 other times. So yeah, do I want to see variations in dunk and do something different? Yeah, no doubt. I would like to see that. There's got to be other ways where you could perform dunks, but you got to have your heart into the slam dunk contest, and I don't see it. There is a suggestion that someone put out there, hey, trying to change the whole format of the slam dunk contest and to make it more exciting for people that's watching. You can look it up. I can't remember it. It was some definitely, I think you could make it more creative for the people that work within the NBA. Just to try. It was just sad, man. It was the slam dunk contest was weak sauce. The all-star basketball exhibition game, it was an exhibition game, man. It wasn't really, Cass was not sweating at all. To make it more exciting, hey, I would like to see more changes in the slam dunk contest than in the all-star game. And the reason why I say that, because I can understand why these players were putting in half effort in the all-star game. They just had a full season. They already proved what they had to prove. This is just, there was a certain amount of donation that was going to go towards a nonprofit cause. I think it was like $150,000 or something like that. So, players really don't have to, put in their heart. So I really don't care. I understand that. They don't want to get hurt. And, who wants to get hurt on an exhibition game? And then, they got to heal. So I understand why Cats are going. So, all right, I'm not putting that much pressure on the All-Star game, but the slam dunk contest, y'all got to work on that. NBA, come on, man. That was super trash. Yeah, Anyway, the next thing, man, I saw the first image of the Todd Phillips Joker movie that's coming up soon. The star, of course, of Joker is Joaquin Phoenix. And, of course, Lady Gaga is going to play Harley Quinn, man. And that still image, it says a lot. Man, it was fantastic when I saw that. I'm like, this is it. Now, they did say it was going to be a musical. Don't fret, hardcore DC fans. Don't trip, okay? This is not going to be Gone with the Wind. I don't think it's going to be. I think there's going to be a certain twist for it to become a musical. And I know where some of this inspiration comes from, because if you've seen the original Joker, there's a piece in there where he finally becomes the Joker symbolically through a dance that he did in a bathroom. So to me, that was very artful. I've never seen that before, and it was something that was just done. It was just spur of the moment. It was what's that word I'm looking for? Oh man, I can't find a word. It was something that they asked Joaquin, hey, do something that's going to really represent what the Joker's doing in this moment when he becomes the Joker. And he did this performance, and I thought it was dope. I thought it fit well into the whole movie. It was fantastic, man. That was an art piece. For those that have problems with superhero movies and that they can't get Oscars, to me, the Joker was a pushback on that argument, where you can't have a DC movie or Marvel movie, if it's done right, can be Oscar-worthy material. And shout out to Todd Phillips for doing that. I'm not taking away anything from Margot Robbie. I think Margot Robbie did what she did for Harley Quinn, and I will never take. I love it. Love everything that Margot Robbie, but I think what Lady Gaga is going to put into this new rendition, a new expression of who Harley Quinn is within the framework of or through the lens of Todd Phillips and the artistic expression of Joaquin Phoenix. I'm like, this is real world Harley Quinn. Let's see where they take it. Let's see how far they push Harley Quinn over the edge to be the match to Joaquin Phoenix Joker. So I'm looking forward to how this all plays out, especially when they say it's going to be a musical. I think it's going to be they said that a musical, as far as using music as treatment within what do you call it, within the psych ward in Gotham City Psych Ward. I can't think of the name. And I think this is how this musical part is going to kind of come through, using music as treatment for the Joker, and how this is gonna kind of like. I think it's going to be done right. I think it's going to be done. I feel it's going to be done right. I'm not doubting what Todd Phillips or what Joaquin Phoenix did for the role or for the movie. And of course, this is Elseworld, so this stands outside of what James Gunn is trying to do. When he comes with his own version of the Batman, the Bold and the Brave. So, yeah, man, I'm all for this Elseworld stuff outside of the James Gunn idea of what these characters should be. Hey, man, Christopher Nolan Christopher Nolan set the standard. Now, I'm not saying everything has to be super serious. I'm all for jokes. I'm all for having lighthearted moments within movies. Everything shouldn't be so drab and dark. I get it. But I think DC is just different from Marvel. I think DC is, since what Christopher Nolan did, even before Christopher Nolan, when it was with Michael Keaton, I think Michael Keaton Batman. I keep on forgetting Michael Keaton. Let me see here. Tim Burton. I couldn't remember his name. It goes even before Christopher Nolan. What Tim Burton did with Batman, Michael Keaton's Batman, set the standard even back then. And Joel Schumacher, the studio was like, whoa, this is for kids. And I get it. I do get it too. And I said before on the show, I do get it. But I think just DC is different. Marvel wants to go jokey and it's more comic-y, and I get it. Even in the sense of Captain America, which wasn't so funny joke type of way, and it had a serious element to it, but it's more comic-y. DC is just different, and it's more real world and how they deal with issues, a certain subject matter. I think that DC should fit into that pocket and just run with it, and that's what DC is. Don't try to copy Marvel. Don't do what Marvel is trying to do. Be DC, and in every character. Now, Superman doesn't have to be super dark. It could be lighthearted, but again, you have to take that same DNA, how it was set many movies ago, and then just run it with it. You know what I mean? Yeah, that's how I feel about DC. I'm looking forward to that, the Joker movie. I don't even know when it's released. Let me see when it's come out. Joker to 2024. It's coming in 2024. We have some time. We got some time. The next thing that I saw that was interesting, I saw an article, neighborhood protection, man. I'm all about neighborhood protection. That's in the 8-point proclamation that I'll talk about. And I'm going to share with you guys. I'm going to do some things. I'm going to just reach out to people. There's some things I got to do. I saw this article where you have a group of folk in Detroit, black people that's protecting their neighborhoods, and they are armed, patrolling the neighborhood. Because of it, there were a number of robberies that were taking place, especially with black women in the community. And this group is called New Era Detroit. New Era Detroit, and it was founded by Zeke Williams. It launched in August 2014, and they protect the neighborhood. They go through Detroit, and even in the wishy-washy rules of gun ownership in Michigan, and you can look that up. Open carry, you can open carry in the state. You can carry weapons in public as long as it is displayed so for everyone to see. So this is what this group does, New Era Detroit. You can see them in all black gear, and they load with the long weapons, and they help the women, the old ladies, with bags of their groceries, or getting to the car when they're gassing up, and they out there protecting the neighborhood. And I think that's super dope, and I think that's necessary. They said they have other chapters around in different cities, but I'm looking, hopefully it doesn't just have to be New Era Detroit. It could be other organizations that may start with that same energy and mission statement. And I spoke about it, and actually I wanted to do the same even before realizing this. Making a group that's going to protect the neighborhood, because obviously police can't do it. It's either of the extremes. Either they are heavy-handed, and of course it's the typical police brutality situation that's caught in video, or it's the opposite end of the spectrum where they don't want to do anything at all. And of course, the crime element that does exist in poor neighborhoods, take it as an opportunity to try to do what they do. But I think this is dope. And Zeke Williams actually did say that, this is not a versus with the local police in the area. They have a good relationship, open line of communication with police, letting them know what they're doing. So, yeah, man, I think that's super dope, man. I'm with that. Let's let it spread to all communities in black communities around America. It's in my 8-point proclamation for black communities and hip hop, and we'll be hearing more of that down the line. But yeah, big ups to Zeke Williams, man. Applause to that brother for really doing something for the city of Detroit. Next thing, the video I saw a video of the UK president, UK prime minister. What is the UK prime minister's name? Did I write this down? UK prime minister is Rishi Sunak. All right, Rishi Sunak. I saw a video of this of the UK prime minister talking about they're supporting the Ukrainian efforts in the war against Russia. They're going to be offering tanks and training to Ukrainian pilots for the NATO standard fighter jets. And he's also expecting other Western countries to join in to give the same support to Ukraine. And I'm thinking, wait a second. Isn't this technically World War III? I'm like, you're giving weapons and training to Ukraine. Okay. United States is already funding Ukraine and giving them weapons like missiles. I believe President Biden saying he's going to give them missiles and everything like that. Isn't this World War III? Okay, we don't have technically. There are no boots in the ground in Russia and the Ukraine. Say is United Kingdom, United States, and all the other countries that are part of NATO. But yet they're giving training and money and equipment to the Ukrainian forces to battle the Russians. Seems like they're using the Ukraine as it's a proxy war, pretty much. Instead of the major players fighting each other, they're using other countries to fight wars for them. How about de-escalation? No one's talking about de-escalation. Nobody's talking about, hey, we should try to kind of think of another option here instead of painting people in a corner where now they're starting to explore the nuclear option. And that's exactly what's happening with the Russians. I read an article talking about they're doing exercises in nuclear subs, positioning them in certain strategic areas. Let's see. Let me see. Russian nuclear strategic positioning submarines. Let's see this. You see what pops up. We see here. Let me see what this is. Norway warns. I agree. Okay, I agree. Norway warns of growing importance of Russian nuclear deterrent in Arctic. Tactical nuclear weapons are a particularly serious threat. Norwegian intelligence reports. Yes, we know that. Here we go. Russia deploys nuclear armed ships for first time in 30 years, the report says. According to Norwegian intelligence services, Moscow has fitted its northern fleet with tactical nuclear weapons, increasing the risk of an escalation due to misunderstandings between Moscow and NATO. And this is from elpais.com, elpais.com. You can check that out. It's from their international section of their online publication. Wow. Okay. What do we got here? Let's see what else we got here. AP News. Russia holds drills with nuclear subs, land-based missiles. The first paragraph, Russian nuclear submarines sailed off for drills in the Barents Sea and mobile missile launchers roamed snow forests Tuesday in Siberia after President Vladimir Putin ordered his nation's nuclear forces put on high alert over tensions with the West over the invasion of Ukraine. So there are a number of articles that are out there that's saying that things are kind of ramping up towards the use of nuclear weapons, and this is not what people want. Here he is. All the Western countries are supplying Ukraine with all types of weapons and intelligence and everything like that. And here we are, we're dealing with this. Also, of course, if people don't understand, there was a thing with you know what, and that was supposed to be a part of my notes, and it just jogged my memory. Pipeline explosion. The Nord Stream pipeline, there was an explosion. And as everybody knows, that's wild. That's a Nord Stream pipeline is buried under water in the sea. And what did it say? Just a few days ago, Hersh has reported that U.S. planted the bombs. Oh, wait a second. So first post, Nord Stream pipeline. Seymour Hersh calls the sabotage dumbest U.S. act in years, says more revelation to follow. Just a few days ago, Hersh had reported that U.S. planted the bombs on the Nord Stream pipeline under the Baltic Sea during the Baltops joint military drill in June last year. The pipeline was blown apart in a series of explosions in August. So this is follow up on news. The Nord Stream pipeline, which is owned by a Russian oil company. So I mean, everyone was saying pretty much at the time how this Nord Stream pipeline exploded. Everybody's like, huh? What? I don't know what's going on. And of course, anyone, if you think about it long enough, you would say, okay, wait, who are the countries that have the resources, the ability, the intelligence to really destroy a oil pipeline in the Baltic Sea? There's not many countries that can do that. The Chinese won't do it. They're allied with the Russians. UK is not going to do it. They're working. I don't think they even have the ability to do it. The Russians certainly ain't going to do it. There was an article that I said the Russians did it themselves. I don't think the Russians are going to do that, of course. And really, there's not many countries. And, the United States is at the top of the list here. And of course, I understand why, because in order for you to cripple Russia's efforts in Ukraine, one thing you can do, they're a big exporter of oil. One thing, you have to stop their flow of oil in ways that they can make money. All right. I'm not saying this is for or against as far as the Nord Stream pipeline. I'm just simply talking about some news. Now, I'm more critical of what's happening, especially from that report I heard from the UK Prime Minister. And this is not, we're not changing course here. And I'm just concerned for the people. I'm concerned for the people because when you put someone's back to the wall, they're going to use any tactic available to them to win. And the tactic that we use as far as countries are concerned is nuclear weapons, and that's not a good thing. A lot of people can get hurt here. And I think of major cities, and I'm a New Yorker. I live here. And as I always said, this is not rocket science. No pun intended, in terms of rockets, nuclear weapons, and all that. But New York is a prime target because it is a major city that where 8 million people live. Wall Street is here. It's a financial center of not just the United States, but the world. Where else would you want to strike as a first target? Yeah, it's a scary thing, folks, and I'm not no doomsday person, but I'm a realist, and I think about these things all the time when I read these articles and where this can possibly go, where people should go, where to evacuate to. I've spoken to my wife a couple times. Emergency go bags, like things that you should have in case something like the zombie. We joke around with that term and it's going around, the zombie apocalypse. Especially when, if it ever came to be as far as The Walking Dead, certain things you got to have: emergency go bags and water and rations and food. And the other thing is, solar power generators and, lighters and all these things that you should have on you in case that you have to go somewhere at the drop of a dime. And these are the things you got to think about when these things, because your government, they're not thinking of this. It's all about money and power and control and all these things, and people are collateral damage. If that scenario does present itself as far as the nuclear option, what do you do if that were to happen? Where do people go? What you should have? Maybe that should be a topic discussed on the next show. What you should have, where you should go, shelter, all these things. Maybe we should talk about that. I'll write that down and look into it. All right, so the next thing is here to talk about Joe Rogan, man. Joe Rogan, I saw something on Joe Rogan on YouTube that he recently had his guest, and this is not even recent. I found out this was kind of broadcasted back in November with Graham Hancock and Graham Hancock's guest, Randall Carson. And this is based on a Graham Hancock show on Netflix called Ancient Apocalypse. I saw it as soon as it came on. I know Graham Hancock. I've been following him for a while. And he had produced the show and hosted it called Ancient Apocalypse. He visits various sites from around the world that's been buried by time and nature. He visited like the Serpent Mound in Ohio. He went to Mexico, Indonesia, the Bimini rock formations off the coasts of Miami, Turkey, and ancient civilizations that possibly could existed in the past, right? But destroyed, by, as I said, I want to say destroyed, but kind of like, as I said before, buried by time and nature. And his whole premise was, there are ancient civilizations that are lasted for thousands of years, and they once existed before, but we probably have some sort of historical amnesia as far as the scholars are concerned when it comes to history, that there could have been ancient civilizations that have been buried, but from one way or another, we lost touch of them, and they are forever gone, if you want to say, for lack of a better word. But there is evidence left to say that these ancient civilizations did exist, and we should take the time out to explore them and find out why they disappeared in the first place. And it kind of ties in Atlantis, and I don't want people to get freaked out, because when you say Atlantis, people go into flights of fancy like, oh my God, the Atlantis, an underground city, and it was an advanced alien civilization, and where did it go? And then we think about Aquaman and the city of Atlantis, and we go into this whole fictional thing. We're not gonna go there. All right, we're not gonna go there. Let's just say, sometimes even in old stories that have been passed down over the generations that really have gone into flights of fancy, I think there are certain kernels of truth within those stories that if we remove all of the hokey pokey about it, and the fantasy that there in real life, that there probably were cities that just or previous civilizations that disappeared because of a natural occurrence. It happened because of a cataclysm, a huge cataclysm. And one of the things that Graham Hancock talked about was the Younger Dryas. In the Younger Dryas, they say, is a period between 12,900 BC and 11,600 BC that halted the warming trend of the northern hemisphere. And they said it lasted about 1,300 years. The possible cause of the Younger Dryas was possibly a rapid melting of the glacial ice sheet. They said they call it the Laurentide ice sheet, or there was an explosion of a massive meteorite above the surface of the Earth that could have caused this period that halted the warming period of the time. And they're saying the meteorite could have possibly came from the Beta Taurid meteor shower. These are new things, because you can all look this up. Now, he did this whole 2.5 hour show on Joe Rogan, and it's not like Graham Hancock and his guest Randall Carson was just like going off and just spewing off in the mouth. There's a lot of evidence that they introduced that at least will make you pique your interest into these possible ancient civilizations that disappeared. And a big part of it, you watch Ancient Apocalypse, and you'll see certain evidence that at least, at the very least, gets you curious and you want to explore. So I guess, as I said before, a meteorite that possibly exploded over the Earth, on the surface of the Earth, and it comes from the Beta Taurid meteor shower. And this is a real thing. You can look it up. Beta Taurid, Taurid meteor shower that happens twice a year, one in June, July, and October. And scientists say that the source of this meteor came from this meteor shower. Again, let me back a little bit. The Earth, they say, passes through the tail of a meteor, the tail of a meteor or something or other. And of course, in this tail of the meteor, there are a lot of shards broken off and rocks and, certain of various sizes. And when the Earth passes through, we are in the wake of this tail, and we get a lot of meteors that crash on the Earth. Some insignificant, sometimes ones that are really life-changing. And one in particular, they say there was a meteor that exploded over the Siberian forest on June 30th, 1908, and it decimated 2,000 square kilometers of land. This is the real thing. And this happened over in Siberia, where there was no people, just ice. Now imagine if this meteor exploded over, say, New York or Denver or California. The decimation from that explosion, unreal. This is a real thing. He said this is possibly what caused a younger dryas period between that time. They continue on and talking about, modern society isn't the culmination of the modern society that we live now. It's not the culmination of the eventuality of this timeline, but there possibly been past civilizations, as I said before, ancient civilizations that came up and disappeared, and the modern time that we live in today is just another opportunity for human beings to advance themselves. So this society as we know it is not the pinnacle. It's not the apex of human civilization. There could have been past ones. So just to go further into this interview, so you have Graham Hancock and his guest Randall Carlson on Joe's show. They get into the construction of the Great Pyramids and how there are such, I guess you would call it divine mathematical calculations that was built into the structure of the pyramid. And some of the information that they shared is crazy. They're saying the Great Pyramid, the main pyramid, is 3/60th of a degree off of true north. And I've heard previously, this is not the first time I'm hearing this information as far as the calculations of the pyramid, but they're saying the only reason why it's 3/60th of a degree off is because there could have been a subtle movement of the tectonic plates, the surface of the earth that threw off that true north. That's some amazing stuff if you got dead on true north, and yeah, it's madness. And then you can probably attribute to the moving of the tectonic plates. That's crazy. They're saying the height of the pyramid, and if you multiply that by 43,200, you get the polar radius of the earth. If you measure the base of the pyramid and multiply that by 43,200, you get the equatorial circumference of the earth. Now, 43,200 comes from the motion of the earth, the precession of the earth's axis. The earth wobbles on its axis 1 degree every 72 years. 72 years times 360 degrees is 25,920. I guess you round that up, you get 26,000 years. They call this the Great Year because of that wobble. So the Earth's true north solely passes through each ruling constellation, which is the 12 houses of the zodiac. Each ruling constellation takes 2,160 years to move through. Now you divide 26,000 years to each ruling constellation of 2,160 years, you get the total of the 12 signs of the zodiac. 43,200 is a multiple of 72, and they're saying this is the scale used in the pyramid earth ratio when they built the pyramids. That's amazing. Yeah, it's absolutely amazing, the precision and the intent of the builders of the pyramid. These people were not slaves. Of course, it wasn't a few people that understood how to build the pyramids based on these calculations. Of course, the people that went into building have to understand the language themselves. So you had a whole army of people that were educated to ensure that this pyramid is built the right way based on what they wanted to do. So next, the ratio of the height to half of its base of the pyramid equals to the mathematical constant of pi, which is 3.14. The slope angle of the pyramid side is related to the measurement of the golden ratio, Fibonacci's circle. Here's a fascinating thing. The speed of light, the maximum speed of 792,458 meters per second matches the pyramid location. It's 29.9792458 degrees north, which is the location of the pyramid on the map, or one half of the location of the pyramid on the map. How does this all happen? It's amazing. And these are things that Graham Hancock is saying, that this was presented to the traditional schools of thought, Egyptologists, and they say all of this is just pure coincidence. I don't think this is pure coincidence. You can't have this many numbers match up to each other as far as the pyramid to the measurements of the earth, and just by pure coincidence. That it's impossible. So it's amazing that this new information has been out for about 10, 15 years. that, you know, the Great Pyramid is just not some burial ground for pharaohs, but there is a mathematical language that has been built into this construction of the pyramids, and it leads to believe that it is more than just some sort of a burial ground, that this is has a bigger significance than we realize. What that true purpose is, we don't know, and that's what people are exploring, and it should be explored. And they talked about, of course, ancient Egypt is not the 4,000 years old, or as far as the timeline that we understand, as far as the dynasties within of ancient Egypt. It goes back farther, 12,000 years, 15,000 years, based on the water erosion, the evidence of water erosion that you see at the base of the Sphinx. And that only happened during a period about 12,000 years ago, when the Earth's environment changed and there was heavy rainfall. All of this evidence you have to present and talk about, and it really turns everything on its head. Of course, the traditional Egyptologists, they just push this off. They don't care, and it's something that, of course, you threaten that, because Egyptologists base their whole life's work on what they've been talking about for years, as far as the pyramids are concerned, whatever beliefs that they had in the construction of the Great Pyramids and the pharaohs and the timeline and all this, the significance, the meanings of the symbols and how everything ties in. That's their life's work. So when you have someone like Graham Hancock comes in, and Robert Bauval, that's another man that created several books on Egypt and the meaning of the society, the ancient Egyptian society. I encourage people to read up on Robert Bauval's books, Bauval, Robert Bauval and Graham Hancock, and it's amazing things. And a lot of people might get, a lot of the Egyptologists are threatened by that, their whole life's work. And then when you have someone who wants to introduce new ideas and new thoughts about ancient Egypt and the construction of the pyramids, it tosses everything out. But, that's just what science is, right? The one curious thing that I did peep when Graham Hancock, and I'm not so sure if it comes so much from Graham Hancock, but Randall Carson, Joe was asking him questions about, meeting a soldier, and there's so much other sciences that they discovered during their studies of ancient Egypt, and there's new type of energy sources that they found out, and things are based off of rhythm and resonance, and which I do believe. And this soldier that they met, and and it kind of like peeked into a little bit of that the government shouldn't be able to be told how to live by the government, and we believe in states' rights, and the government's gone too far to control people, and the soldier is a reason that he should have on the show to talk about all this, and it got eerily into some Trump stuff. I'm like, what? Where is this going? So it goes to show. This goes back to to Dr. Ivan Van Sertima's work, Dr. Ben's work, Dr. Clark's work in studying ancient civilizations, ancient African civilizations, African societies that have existed at the time of where we want to, of what we've learned from Rome and Greece. And Graham Hancock did admit, of course, Greece has gotten their knowledge and science from the ancient Egyptians. He did. So I don't know what's he rarely speaks about race when he speaks about ancient Egyptians, just about the science and the technology of the time, and the possibility of we have not given enough mental thought to think that an ancient civilization, that we lost an ancient civilizations based on the evidence, the mathematical evidence that's built into the pyramids, and we have to consider that and kind of reevaluate things, blah, 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 blah. But he never ever mentions race. And this guy, Randall Carson, he he goes into flights of, I mean, he goes there, and you know, things that I don't want to say, because I was about to say flights of fancy. No, he really goes there. Some thoughts about science and the technologies of the time, and there's some things that he wants to introduce to Joe Rogan, and and that's when he got into the soldier thing and blah, blah, blah. But again, like I said, it's eerily got into some Trump stuff. I'm like, yeah. And this is, as I mentioned with Dr. Clark, a lot of times his works at the time, Now Valley Civilizations, when he was presenting it to the scholars of the time, and they were kind of trying to disregard his work and, you know, trying to pass off, no, the ancient Egyptians, they weren't really black. They were really kind of like dark-skinned Europeans, blah, blah. No, they were really the people from the north, the Arabs, and man. They were from like the Hyksos came down, and it's really, you know, the African people came later dynasties, like the end of the ancient Egyptian times in the 26th dynasty. I'm like, no, man. Africa is old. Egypt is in Africa, as they always say. How can you separate Egypt from Africa if it's a part of Africa? There's so much evidence leading that the peoples of ancient Egypt came from Central Africa. The first dynasty, second dynasty, the early dynasties were all of African origin. That the people were from Nubian descent, and various other peoples of Northern Africa. And that's before of the peoples that we know of Africa today, Morocco and Egypt and Tunisia and all this. We know this, but they never mention that. They go through this 2.5 hour show with Joe Rogan, but they never mention the identity of the Egyptians. To me, I know. So when they're talking about all this advanced technology and science and the mathematics applied to the construction of pyramids, I'm like, yeah, black people did that. Yeah, African people did it. Yeah. African people did that, but they don't mention that. And sometimes if you watch real closely, you'll see kind of like the wincing of the faces when it gets close to the identity. Like even when my man, what's my man name from not Michael Eric Dyson. I always mix him up. Joe Rogan and I always mix these dudes up. Neil deGrasse Tyson, right? And even when Neil deGrasse Tyson, he mentioned that, and Neil deGrasse, he really doesn't mention about race. He doesn't want to be called a black scientist. I may have my differences in his philosophy and that. Okay, fine, whatever. That's his opinion. That's fine. But even Neil deGrasse Tyson mentions the people, the denial of the identity of the people in ancient Egypt is silly. And it was by black African people. And when you mention that, there's always a wincing of the faces. Like, white people have been socialized to the point where they cannot put down their ego. And as I said before, that American society, where we are, the Western society, as far as the technology that we have, it will lead you to believe that this is the apex. This is the culmination of generations of human life since the caveman periods. And this is where we are. There was no time in human past where it's ever been so advanced. And we should revel in that and what we have done in today. But because Graham Hancock goes to the past of the construction of the ancient pyramids, and the study, as the whole study was built around ancient Egypt to the point where Egyptology, there's no other studies, there's no study of any other group of people on this planet. We don't call it Europeanologists, we don't call Asianologists, but there is a study specifically for ancient Egyptology. That's crazy. And they are so super focused on ancient Egypt and how these people lived and constructed these great pyramids. It is amazing how we can never talk about these things. And when we do talk about the advancement, there are possible ancient civilizations that had methodologies that we cannot even fathom today. It disturbs people. And then when you tie in identity, the racial identity of these folks, it disturbs them even more. So I know what this is. You can't tell me. I know what this is. And it should be discussed and it should be put out in the open, but it disturbs people, man. It's wild. It's wild, man. So anyway, I encourage people to watch the show, you know, even to be put on to certain knowledge of the construction of the pyramids and the people and all these things. It's fascinating things, fascinating stuff. But keep in mind, the people, ancient African people. Yes, they did that. Let's put down our ego. I mean, to the point where they're saying, I mean, they are running. I mean, it is so bad. They're talking about ancient aliens. They're talking about, well, and I saw actually discussing this. I saw articles where they're talking about where there were ancient advanced civilizations that existed. Then it couldn't have been the Egyptians. It had to have been some ancient advanced civilization before that. I'm like, where? Nobody else talks about this. And all of a sudden, it couldn't have been, because they can't avoid the fact that Black African people are the ancient Egyptians. There's so much evidence that the burials, the artifacts, the statues, everything, right? The combs, the picks, the hairdressing styles, the similarities to the current modern day African people today. So it's unavoidable. So now they're saying, no, it happened. There must have been an ancient civilization that was advanced, that the ancient Egyptians must have borrowed. They must have took it from them, and they just came upon it. Like, nah, bruh, nah. Come on. Let's stay together now, folks. Let's keep it together. Africa is old. Africa is super old. They created they were the hunter-gatherers. Hunter-gatherers became created agrarian societies. Once you stabilize and stop moving and stop being nomadic people and stay where you're at, you became sedentary. You created villages. Villages became cities. Cities had societies. Societies had the sciences that you had the ability to create after you solved food, clothing, and shelter. Now you can move into higher sciences and higher education, mathematics, astronomy, astrology, all geometry, all the math, all that stuff came, and it lasted for thousands of years, to the point where they built the pyramids, and it still is here after 1,000 years. 1,000 years afterwards, it hasn't crumbled through time. It's still here. And the only reason why the pyramids are the way that they are is because of the ravagers through time took away the top cap. I think it was limestone. Because the pyramids are in its original construction was really smooth. So now you see that it's stepped, because all of that stone was stolen from raiders of the past over the century. They use it for other stuff. That's why you see the exposed block that forms that step style construction you see now, or shape, better yet, shape that you see now with the pyramid. So yeah, man, it's African people, man. It's African people. Yeah. Anyway, last thing before I get out of here, I just saw an article on Facebook. They're talking about they're rolling out the paid verification service that's similar to Twitter. So they got the paid verification services that they're offering for people. And with this paid verification services, you'll be able to have more long form tweeting capabilities. Of course, all the same stuff that you'll be able to authenticate yourself, and you keep people from taking your identity and yada yada yada. And the price of this will be $8 for the web and $11 for mobile. So wait a second, this makes me think. So I have to pay for two separate? Why there's two separate price points? $8 for the web. So if I'm on my computer, I got to pay $8 for that, and for the mobile service, it's $11. So why isn't it just one price point? Why are there two separate? I just want to know. Maybe I'm missing it. I don't understand it. I think it's stupid. And I know why Elon is doing this. He's trying to make that money that he went in debt for buying this damn social media platform. And now all of a sudden, Mark Zuckerberg wants to do the same thing with Facebook and Instagram. He's just following suit, trying to make some money. It's trash. I'm just saying, I got one question to say. Where are the new platforms? My God, I'm tired of hearing about Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. I am so tired of hearing about them. Where are the new social media platforms? Where are they at? Where is the VC world saying, you know what? maybe we should do something different. Maybe we should back a few more social media platforms that doing something a little different, but nothing. I'm hearing nothing, crickets. I don't hear a single solitary conversation happening saying, hey, maybe we should get behind some new social media platforms. Because the ones we have now, they've been a little tricky. All the reports about, how it's damaging to young girls' self-confidence and, the things that they're doing to shift elections, or all this crap that they're talking about that's bad that social media is doing currently with the ones that are existing today, and nobody's doing something different. Really? Yeah. So anyway, that's just a thought. I'm going to get out of here. Thank you guys for listening to me for another blee amount of time. It's always exactly a little bit over an hour. I appreciate you guys talking to me or listening to me talk. I'm going to get out of here. I got my radio about to go off and make a whole bunch of noise. I'll see you guys next week. I'll definitely talk about, like I said, what I said I was going to talk about next year about, emergency go. What do you do in times of emergency, and talking about the change.org thing with the 8 points proclamation for hopefully people will support. Okay, guys, I'm gonna get out of here. I appreciate you listening. Peace. Much love.
Check it.
You just listened to GCOM Radio, powered by Lyfeblood.com. For the global community,
We worldwide, baby.
see you in the next go-round. From right here to your town, we out.